Denmark and Christian Eriksen know that they have to win here against Australia, otherwise they are going home, which would be a huge shock for the European Championship semi-finalists, so used to being the underdog themselves. Now the weight of expectation rests firmly on their shoulders. Australia have the benefit of knowing that they potentially don't have to win, but their manager, Graham Arnold, has made it clear. He said, "I've never coached a team to draw in my life." And with uncertainty prevailing elsewhere across Doha, they can only focus on what they have to do. And both sides know that if they win, there's an excellent chance of then joining France in the last 16. And we're underway. Australia versus Denmark. The former England defender Warren Barton alongside me. What does each of them have to do?
Well, I think from Denmark's point of view is to try and get Eriksen on the ball a lot more and higher up the field. And then Jensen coming to team number 7, that maybe allow him to get further up the field and get on the ball, make things happen. And for Australia's point of view, they don't chase everything. Keep that discipline, keep that shape. If you can get it into Duke, the big number 15 up the front, and then try and build off him. They're going to be very direct. They're not going to try and pass through midfield, where Denmark are a team that want to get into these areas.
Denmark all in red, and how they'd love an early goal, and Eriksen on the chase. The Australia boss, Graham Arnold, by the way, has brought in the more defensive-minded Milos Degenek at right back for Frank Karacic. That's his only change here. Whereas Kasper Hjulmand of Denmark has made 3 changes, bringing in Mathias Jensen, Martin Brathwaite up front, his 3rd centre-forward in 3 games, and Skov Olsen being the other, with Nelson, Cornelius and Damsgaard making way. And they're still looking for that combination up front, with goals having dried up. And whilst they have a lot of quality in this side, form has evaded them of late. Denmark, who are playing all in red, by the way. FIFA President Gianni Infantino in attendance. It's our first evening kick-off here, and it feels very different. What an atmosphere before the game with the fire show. Absolutely wonderful stuff. And what a big game it is.
Oh, it's a huge game for Denmark. They're underachieved. We was here with the first game against Tunisia. You spoke about the number 9 position, not necessarily scoring goals, but the lack of movement. Dolberg was a player, Seville just stayed in a position. You've got to move people around, then Olsen can get in the game, Eriksen can start playing, Jensen can make his run, but they haven't had that. Now with this guy, he will run in behind. They say he's a player, comes short, spinning behind, his movement is pretty good. That's something that's going to give the Australian backline, particularly 2 centre-halves, something to work on. Rather than a big target man, he's going to be moving around in different areas.
And at least he scored some goals this season. He scored 3 in the league for Espanyol. Here come Australia. What can they do here? Wow, the strike from distance, and Riley McGree with it, and that was an optimistic shout, but why not?
Well, he's his own player. That's his problem. Duke's run across just to try and get the line. It opened up beautifully for him on that left foot. Closing down well. Keep the ball alive. It opens up. People will run away, and he just hits his own player, a defender. But that's a sign they're going to have to pick and choose their moments to go forward.
Here come Denmark. They have to win here. I will keep reminding you of the permutations, but it's pretty straightforward to Denmark. And that's the first yellow card of the game, and it's very early on as well.
And that's encouraging inside for Olsen. He didn't have a good game in the first one. Straight away, the fullbacks taking people on. He's got a sweet left foot. He dribbles with the ball very well. Not the biggest, not maybe the strongest, but can manipulate the ball. And again, an easy decision for the referee.
This is Verhich going into the referee's book in just the 4th minute, and that's going to be a very long game for him. And he's left back against Skov Olsen, and he will know he's on a booking.
Yeah, and he's a physical player as well. He's not a player that stays on his feet. He does dive in.
Eriksen to take it for Denmark. lot of nerves in the Denmark camp. Talking to journalists in the press room before the game, the Aussies were pretty chipper. They were like, well, we weren't expected to get out of this group. The Danes, on the contrary.
You met your match, didn't you, with one guy? He did not stop talking. He was trying to get away. I could see you being polite, very English, trying to come away, but he wouldn't let you go. He went on for about 15 minutes. You only asked him one question.
Yeah, so they're telling us all about how they just don't have any stars. We knew that, of course, that they just don't have a Harry Kewell, they don't have a Mark Viduka. Well, that's a mistake. Mark looking to break forward quickly with Brathwaite. The early ball in towards Jensen had to be dealt with. And it's gone behind for a goal kick, but an example there of how Australia have to be careful in possession.
We've seen more players getting forward in a red shirt than we have all tournament. They've gone forward, that hold-up play, bringing people into it. They're asking questions. Midfield runners are being allowed to go forward. Holberg would be that holder midfield player, the Tottenham player. He's going to allow the other players to go forward, and it's encouraging signs so far.
We watched Denmark's opening game against Tunisia, and we were very disappointed with what we saw from Denmark, though full credit to Tunisia in that game. It's just Denmark had no movement, as you suggested, Warren. Just not what we're used to. Looking to try and make up for it, and a breakdown of communication there.
He's come in for his energy as well. You know, they've gone that 3 in midfield rather than that 2 and a 1 direction. So Holberg would be holding Jensen on that right-hand side, and Eriksson will be squeezing up the number 10. He's not going to be too advanced, but in an area that he can come and get the ball, but also play off the striker.
First goal in this game will be absolutely crucial. The Aussies would love to get it. Denmark really need to get it. Eriksson visibly playing much more quickly in Lindstrom. Forwards towards Malo. The early ball into the danger area. Ryan was there.
Well, you can hear the Denmark fans straight away. They're on their toes. A good, intricate play. Fullback making the overrun. Delightful little put through the legs. And then with the outside of his right foot, he's just trying to feed it so it bends into the centre forward. Braithwaite's run as he comes in. And that's what having a movement as a striker. Rather than just being a target man, you want someone that's going to run in. Australia at the moment, they're clashing into each other. They can't get hold of the ball. They need to stick together.
A long old evening for Australia as things stand. Just not quite clicking as yet, Denmark. They're certainly up the pace from previously. Just not quite on the same wavelength. One of them's on AM and one's on FM at the moment.
And maybe a little bit more energy because it's a cooler day now in the stadium. As I said, it's a night game. They've had time to prepare. Coming into it, it's a nice, obviously comfortable conditions for the players to play.
A bit of head tennis in the middle of the field so far. Denmark have lost it. Australia looking to try to take advantage. They've been told by their manager, Graham Arnold, they need to get off social media. He didn't mind sounding a bit like a grumpy old man in his press conference.
Oh, he loves it, yeah. The more he's right down my alley, that fella. He doesn't hold back with the media, players. He knows what the team is. He's not trying to make out that they're passing out from the back shape. They're honest, hard-working, committed players. And they've got a player with Duke up front that's physical, got a presence. Goodwin on that left-hand side can put a good delivery, and they've got something to build on. But don't expect them to start passing out from the back.
And they have to play to their own strengths, which is the collective. Playing as a unit, winning the duels one-on-one. There's one for them. Degenek up against Lindstrom. Degenek, who plays his football at Columbus Crew in the United States. And some of you will be aware. You go and watch him every week. He's a Croatian-born player of Serbian family who had to flee during the 1990s War of Independence to Belgrade. And then he had to escape the Kosovo War and emigrated to Australia in 2000 when he was just 6 years of age. And here comes Australia with bare hitch. What about the delivery?
Poor. That's what that delivery is. That's where you need to have that little bit of composure. Everything's 100 miles an hour, and as a fullback, you assess in this situation. You don't have to be clever, just put it into an area.
What a legend this guy is. Kasper Schmeichel, winning his 89th cap tonight. Crucial save in that opening match that we saw against Tunisia. Skov Olsen looking to cause some damage to this Australia defence. He's perfectly capable of it. All about the release. Giving it straight to Eriksson. He's somebody you don't want to give. They're much better in that game. And looking to build on that again here in a must-win game. Skov Olsen into the danger area. Oh, Lindstrom was there. Excellent block though. Australia eventually looked to bring the ball away. Lecky, nice bit of play from him. Early ball in, looking for Duke. Is it tricky, the mentality for Australia, knowing that a point might well be enough?
Very. And that's maybe why he's gone with two fullbacks that don't necessarily want to go forward. One of them has played centre-half. He slid into right-back position. So it's that risk and reward. Do you go forward at the right moments? I think they would have said for the 20 minutes, we know Denmark are going to try and get in behind.
On by Brathwaite, and here's Jensen. He may go alone. Excellent save by Matt Ryan. He wanted some support, Jensen. It didn't arrive in time. Felt he had no other option.
But that's what it gives you. It gives that energy and that anticipation to go in behind. He has that freedom because you know you got. Oh, but he's actually waiting for support, and then he's thinking, you know what? I'm going to take a shot. Want to make the goalkeeper Ryan make a save. He was waiting, steadying himself. First thing, get it on target.
That flick on from Brathwaite is something that was really lacking from Dolberg in the opening game.
And the run's in. Now you can do that run because you know the centre-forward is going to put it into the area. Before it was going into him, Dolberg bouncing off, and you stop making them runs.
The referee, Mustafa Gorbel, having a few words with Jackson Irvine and Andreas Christensen.
This is where they got the goal from France, so they would have worked on this and seen this as an avenue to get on the score sheet.
Eriksson. Not often you say Eriksson doesn't beat the first man.
No, we've said that quite a lot though. Set pieces, particularly corners, a lot of teams have been wasteful. It's a good opportunity, an area that you can have the advantage. You have the ball, people making a run, something that coaches would work on. But I think from Denmark's point of view, they'd be, I wouldn't say delighted, but they was very focused in the warm-up when the players was coming in the tunnel. There was no joking, there's no smiles. It was like, we're in business, we need to get out there and perform. And that's really how they've started this game.
It was made very clear to us by the Danish journalists that we spoke to that they would be absolutely hammered back home were they not to emerge from a group containing Australia, ranked 38th in the world compared to them. They were 10th in the world and 8th in Europe.
Well, a lot of people was their dark horse to not only get out the group but go far in this competition. That hasn't materialised. They put themselves in a situation with the first game.
So many of their players simply not on form. They have players at big clubs, the likes of Andreas Christensen at Barcelona, a couple in the Premier League with Eriksson at Manchester United and Højbjerg at Spurs. I don't think you can label him as being out of form. He's been putting in perfectly respectable performances, but it's more from an attacking point of view that's been lacking.
It's a striker, you know. Dolberg doesn't score. Cornelius, he's big target man, but he's never going to score. So they're hoping that whoever put up there, that he can have an impact in the game.
Mæhle, the joint top goal scorer in qualifying. Decent ball in towards Brathwaite. Skov Olsen.
I thought Brathwaite should have had the shot. It opened up again on this left-hand side. They're working it. I'm thinking here, just hit it, just swivel and hit it, but he doesn't. He passes it to Olsen, and it's going on his weaker foot as he's leaning back. But again, it's signs, Jackie. They're getting people into the number 9. They're getting people around them. They're trying to get the second ball. They've got people that are running. At the moment for Australia, they can't get up the field. They've not been able to get 3 or 4 passes together.
And 3 shots so far for Denmark, 1 on target. Another hopeful effort from Riley McGree early on for Australia. By the way, in case you're wondering why we're saying Brathwaite instead of Braithwaite, it's because there was a typo when Martin Brathwaite's dad's family moved from the Caribbean to the United States. And they made a technical error on the computer or in the paperwork, and he stayed as Braithwaite written down, but the family still say Brathwaite, which is why we're saying Brathwaite.
I'm sad because you told me to say so. I'm probably going to go the first one.
You're ebbing and flowing with your Brats and your Braiths, aren't
Yeah,
you?
that's fine. It's these teeth. Terrible.
Here's Anderson. Another Premier League player. And another one, Leeds United's Rasmus Christensen. A lot of talent playing in the top leagues in Europe from Denmark. Very much a footballing nation, of course, whereas the Aussies, football's probably fifth on the list of priorities, behind the likes of AFL, Rugby League, Rugby Union, cricket. And manager Graham Arnold complaining about the development pathway, the lack of funding. There's a suggestion that he'll be off after this, after 4.5 years, that he's had enough. And he's hoping for maybe for an offer from MLS. So if anyone in the MLS is with their club's execs are watching and fancy this Australia side of a manager trying to make a team greater than the sum of the parts, which frankly is the job of any head coach, isn't it?
And they haven't got that generation, you know, Tim Cahill that you had, Harry Kewell, Mark Viduka, Mark Salzer. I mean, them players playing at a high level week in, week out.
Denmark looking to unlock the door. Here's Højbjerg, a little bit of space, allowed to carry the ball. Scott Olsen really can cause some damage with that left foot, if allowed to. Christensen. Lindstrom's gone over to that far side now. Brathwaite's in the centre, but I won't find him that way. That's a poor challenge by Riley McGree. I wonder whether the referee will reach his notebook again. No, he's going for the finger wag instead.
I think he's a lucky boy. I mean, the referee, I think it was his touch, and that just sums him up at the moment. They get the ball in a decent area, Australia, but their touch is not good. They give it away, and now it's a set piece. And the referee's being a little bit lenient there. Ericsson will be looking for Christensen, the number 6 at the far post, to see if he can make a run round the back.
Ericsson. It's a good ball into the far post.
And he put the flag up, but he shouldn't be. He's looking along the line. That's poor decision by him.
Players by the way, on each side who've already been booked, and one more yellow card would see them miss the next round. That's obviously not uppermost in their mind. They might just be lurking in the background somewhere. Moy Irvine, the two central midfielders for Australia, as well as the striker Duke. Jensen, Andreas Christensen and Rasmus Christensen for Denmark. But here's McGree. The space now for Leckie. What's he going to do? Run into traffic? Oh. To nothing. He was caught in 2 or 3 minds there.
Yeah, well, the first mind is get it and go into the space, because if he goes into that area, a defender's got to come across, then you pass it. He took his touch inside, and then he's running into Denmark's back line. His touch should have come out to his right-hand side, keep driving, still be positive, and then you could maybe look for an opening. Encouraging sign for Australia. Once they won it, there was 4 of the shirts running forward. They're getting in this side all the time.
Here's Mailer. In far too much space from an Australian perspective. What can he do with it? Joachim Mailer, he has the skill. That's a good ball across, and Ryan lost it for a moment, but recovered away by McGree.
Well, they're hanging on. Australia keep giving the ball away. They're getting pulled across. Yes, you want to be compact. Yes, you want to be together, but people are running in behind. You've got to communicate. You've got to open your body up as you're a defender.
If Australia are beaten here tonight on the basis of skill levels, something special, they won't mind. But if they've just allowed too much space and haven't done the basics right, which don't require players from Barcelona and AC Milan to play on their side, it's just the basics they don't get right, they will be kicking themselves.
Yeah, it's the fundamentals of like keeping with your runners, keeping your discipline, communicating, don't give cheap fouls away. When you get the ball, see the clock out, all them fundamentals that they would have worked on, particularly a team that don't create too many chances. But also, Jackie, they would have expected this. They would have looked at Denmark and see what happened in the first game. France, which they did play a lot better if it wasn't Mbappe in the last few moments to get on the end of it. But this is this area again where they're coming in all day long. It's a one-on-one. Someone should be coming over. And Ryan just at the end just scoops it away, and it's desperate defending. And that's where, you know, you don't want to give a cheap goal away. You say as a defender, let them score against us. Don't let them have the opportunity. And don't beat yourself.
Come on, boys, come on.
You hear him. Come on, boys. He knows they're a little bit vulnerable at the moment.
Whenever Graham Arnold speaks in a press conference, he always sounds a bit like Sean Dyche, doesn't he? Formerly.
Very husky voice, yeah.
Always as if he's been shouting and growling non-stop. He probably has, exactly. Won by Mæhle, and now here's Eriksson, Lindström.
So you can't let him turn and start running.
Made the run.
And the reason I say that is that because now it all opens up and they have the ball.
Skov Olsen, the hitch is there. Don't forget, the number 16 for Australia is on a booking. He's going to be up against Skov Olsen for another 70 minutes plus stoppage time. That'll be something that the manager might have to think about at some stage. It's over everybody's heads and is not cleared. It is now. This is Australia's 6th World Cup finals, their 5th consecutively. But they've never won 2 matches in a World Cup finals. They're hoping to do so for the first time here. Talk about the 2006 golden generation when they had Tim Cahill. Reminder, it's goalless in the other match, which could well have a bearing on this one in Group D. So if it stays like this, it would be France and Australia going through, which is why Australia don't really commit too many unforced errors here, to borrow a tennis term. McGree, nice control from him. Ambitious.
But I like it. That running from midfield, anticipating where the big man's going to knock it down, or if it's a defender, where's the ball going to land? There he is. Sits up nicely on that left foot. It's a decent effort. Comfortable for Schmeichel.
It's going to have to be a pretty impressive effort to beat that keeper. Now playing his football in Nice. Forwards from Moy. Such a key player for them in midfield.
Middle area, he's going to make sure that nothing goes in there. He's always looking around, seeing where Eriksson is. Just make sure that a forward can't get the ball to feet. He's not going to drift. He's not going to make any runs forward.
From Anderson, known for his range of passing.
It's great play, you know, they do that sometimes, and then Olsen will come short. They're asking so many questions of the back line of Australia, particularly the fullbacks. You know, do you go with your runner? Do you stay in your spot? For Denmark, they haven't too many chances, so they might start getting a little bit anxious. Not necessarily now, but after an hour.
And there's Christensen. Rasmus Christensen. Jensen of Brentford. Patience from Denmark as they try to find a way through the more organised Australian defence. Dragged out Harry Souttar, which is just what they wanted to do, and Mæhle, good defensive work by Moy. Mentioning Harry Souttar, by the way, absolutely outstanding in their victory against Tunisia. Here they come again, Mæhle. Skov Olsen gets it back, Skov Olsen!
Good play again, you know, whether it's on the left-hand side, it goes into middle. He's had a really, really good game, Olsen, so far. Not just stand out wide, he's come short, he's gone long, he wants to come inside. The little play, normally in the first game he was standing still, but look at his reaction, he wants to get behind, drags defenders across, but just hasn't got the power in that right foot to test the goalkeeper, Matt Ryan. But That's what they need to do, and they've done it a lot in this game. Play it wide, go in between, make that runs. With the back four of Australia, they're very set. They're not a back line where they have a sweeper or they play five at the back. They are rigid. You play in your position.
Goalkeeper we were talking about just then, by the way, plays his football in Denmark. For how much longer? It's unclear. It's a short-term project, according to his agent, the former Denmark international Mikael Beck. He went there while Polish goalkeeper Kamil Grabara was injured. Quite a lot of animosity between the two goalkeepers, something very unusual to hear. Grabara saying, well, there's a good reason we've conceded a load of goals since I've been out. Suggesting that it's obviously the goalkeeping's not been very good. Grabara wasn't due to come to this World Cup, but due to a late injury has been called up into the Polish squad. And he has reclaimed his place. So Matt Ryan losing it at the start of October, no longer getting any football, but he got enough football that he wanted to be fit enough and in tune enough for this World Cup finals. And then he's looking for another club in January.
Good hold-up play again. You know, OK, he's offside, but just the movement. I know they're further up the field, but just looking to get the ball. No, he's the one getting in front of the defender. Graham Arnold just at the bottom, he's encouraging his players. I think he's realised now that they're starting to get a little bit more of the ball. They're starting to feel themselves in the game.
And this guy here, Harry Suter, born in Aberdeen, wanted by Australia. Graham Arnold quite tapping him up, but making it clear to him when he saw him on loan at Fleetwood Town from Ross County, he would be a player he'd be interested in. His older brother John plays for Scotland. And what a signing, if you like, in terms of international football. It's quite important that you do make these players feel welcome, as Degenek looks to try to create something for Australia. Well, a little bit of panic set in perhaps there from Goodwin.
But a lot more measured, a lot more composed in their play. You know, I think we were speaking to a lot of the journalists. Are they going to go direct? They're just going to kick it long. They can play. They just need to believe that they've got enough composure on the ball, enough quality. And just start to ask them like one or two questions.
Australia can keep it tight at the back and then nick one either on the break or just with a, like they did in the last game for Duke. They would be absolutely... Oh, fantastic from Lindstrom, but recovered by Degenek. The third right back Graham Arnold's played in this tournament so far. And Karacic and Nathaniel Atkinson already having been played.
Well, Atkinson had a bit of a tough time against a certain Mbappe, which is not a bad thing to say, but...
Well, that's something to look forward to, isn't it, on Saturday? Netherlands versus the United States. Oh, what drama, by the way, at the end of that game. Oh, my goodness. Well, we're all rooting for the USA as well, of course, on Fox Sports, as well as seeing England go through, but goodness gracious, we had a scare at the end. Oh, this is nice from Denmark. First time from Eriksson, and Lindstrom's away. Brathwaite making the run. And it's still Lindstrom, what a ball in. Still the danger not averted. Eriksson goes for goal.
A little shake of the head, and he gets called out, and Eriksson just trying to get his second opportunity to get it on target. But it's that hold-up play, but on his left-hand side, it's just bouncing around. First of all, I think Eriksson was just trying to curl it into the corner, but he's just trying to catch the goalkeeper out, but drags it wide. But good wing play, you know, as soon as they get it, they're running at people, they're causing them problems, the fullback's out of position. Lindstrom has done excellent, both of them. Olsen on the right, Lindstrom in that middle area. This left-hand side.
Take for granted, by the way, the fact that Christian Eriksen is out there and playing. It's still so fresh in all of our minds. Just less than 18 months ago, as he lay prostrate in the Parken Stadium pitch in Denmark at the European Championship. recovery from a cardiac arrest. Absolutely extraordinary. First name on the team sheet now for Denmark. Here he is, Mæhle. Always looking for Eriksson. And again, Moy goes across. Christensen. What about a little bit of trickery or cleverness?
Well, he's done well, Moy. When Eriksson does get the ball, he's not trying to jump in, because Eriksson, as good as he is, he's not going to run past you, not a dribbler, he's a passer. So if you cut off the areas where he's trying to pass and just let him have the ball, he ends up doing a 5-10 yard pass, and then he looks to get it again. So that's where you have to be switched on. It's not the first time he gets it, it's probably the second or the third time that he pops up. And what Moy's done, number 13 for Australia, he's just kept him in his eye and just stood on his ground and stood on his feet and just said, go on, beat me with a bit of trickery, and he's not going to do that. As good as he is, he's world class. Don't get me wrong, Modric's him in that bracket, but he's never going to run past you.
All the talk of what Australia don't have, what about what they do have?
Yeah, they have commitment, they have togetherness, they have spirit, and they have a big man up front. They're going to try and play balls off of him. And that's why I love the fact, Jackie, that they haven't tried to be something they're not. They said, OK, we are what we are. We've got players that are, I don't know, journeymen would be a bit of an unkind thing to say, but they are. The players that have been injured out for a long time, players that are coming along, and they found a way to stick together.
Here they come, Australia in towards Duke. Oh, his first touch showed too much of it to Andreas Christensen. Warning signs though for Denmark. Jackson Irvine. He's probably had almost as many touches as Matt Ryan, as Kasper Schmeichel. They have provided a greater threat, Denmark. But neither goalkeeper's really been tipping balls around the angle of the post. Denmark trying to find a way through. They have to win. A draw under no circumstances will be enough for Denmark. They need all 3 points to go through from Group D with France. Much changed France, still goalless in their match against Tunisia. A win for Australia, though, means they will definitely go through. Here's Mæhle. Degenek's done his job so far.
And that's what he's in the team for, not to give too much. Arnold just got him. Arnold had the ball come to him, he just kicked it away. I was laughing at it, but yeah, that's why he's in the team. He's just done his job. He's not expected to get forward. He's not expected as a fullback now to get crosses in, play with your striker. He's there to do a job. Don't let the balls go in behind. Stay on your feet. And maybe, as later on in the game, he might slide as a centre half. They might go 5 at the back, so they have that option as well.
Kasper Hjulmand said Denmark were too nervous and too slow against Tunisia. They have started more sharply here.
Just the last couple of moments, that sloppy control there. It's nice. The conditions in the stadium are cool. It's not. They can't say it's on the heat and an early game, etc., etc. They haven't got any excuses now. It's got to be, we've got to win. Kasper Schmeichel said in the press conference, you know, that's sometimes a good thing to have, that you just know you have to get a result. Now look at what happened to Ecuador. They didn't know whether to push up, go back, and they're out.
There's a ball forward for Australia, or just a heavy touch from Matthew Leckie. Otherwise, he could have been in. It's not the easiest one to control from over his shoulder. There have been those signs for Australia on the break.
And they're not going to have too many chances, so when that does happen, you've got to make sure your technique's good, your composure's good, and just a couple of times that has happened, that's been wanting a little bit, but that's to be expected. The pressure that's on them, not expected to get out of this group, and they've got it in their own hands.
Backwards from Moy towards Duke, who we've not seen a great deal of in the opening 35 minutes here at the Al Janoub Stadium, south of Doha. Out west of Doha is the Education City Stadium, where it's currently goalless between France and Tunisia in the other half of this group. Cool temperatures here just after 6:30 p.m. in the evening in Doha. In Sydney, it's just gone 2:30 in the morning. So the diehards will be staying up and hoping for another Mitchell Duke special, perhaps. A bit more sociable on the other side of the country, where it's just gone 11:30 at night in Perth. It's the first time we've done a game that's probably virtually sociable hours in the United States as well. So win for Australia, they definitely go through. A draw would be enough as long as Tunisia don't beat France. Much changed France.
I think Michael saying about the pressure of the ball. He thinks it's a little bit flat, actually. The referee's just told him to get on with it. And that's how they are at the moment. They might just gone a little bit flat. Maybe just getting their act together slightly. Can't get Eriksson on the ball. Some of the game plan that Australia would have said, whatever happens, your forwards, don't let it go in the middle. But Duke now is not going to let the ball go in.
Naylor.
There you go, you can pick it off.
Moy's been fantastic for Australia. And Duke back there, well, he thought it was a fair shoulder-to-shoulder challenge, but the referee thought differently.
Yeah, so did Graham Arnold. He's furious on the touchline. It's shoulder to shoulder. Maybe just into the back, but maybe clutching at straws there. I think it was a good 50-50 tackle, and that's what Graham Arnold said. We're going to have to put our foot in. We're going to have to make things difficult. I think the word he said, we'll get stuck in.
I get the impression that's what Graham Arnold's told his Australia side to do. So when they do it and get penalised, he's finding that frustrating. It's a very fine margin, though, isn't it? Between a 50-50 and a foul. And when you have this man, Christian Eriksen, standing over the ball at free kicks, can cause you problems. Here he is. And dealt with by Jackson Irvine. In by Højbjerg. They're hitched down. Rolls, who was bailed out by a centre-half partnership against Tunisia as on the chase there.
They just couldn't get hold of the ball. I mean, they've started now, the Australian fans, every time they're clearing the ball, they can feel that they're getting closer to getting out this group, so they're helping their team, they're trying to encourage their team, they know they're up against it, against quality opposition, but they're starting to realise that if we can get our boys get to half-time, 0-0, give them the encouragement they need, and then the pressure will start adding on Denmark. Now, do they make changes? Do they start doing their system? That's what a coach is going to have to decide at half-time.
The trouble that Denmark have, we mentioned it earlier, they don't have an informed goal scorer. Brathwaite, the most informed. Oh, it's given away there. Straight to Leckie. Moy's made the run. Held up by Jensen. In the desperation to score, as they have to win Denmark or they go home, there is going to be the odd opportunity for Australia. As anxiety starts to kick in, the later this game goes on the final match day of Group D. It's kicked against McGree. Now, what about the ball in? He has yellow shirts there. He couldn't beat the first man.
He's only got to put it up. His strike partner is 6'5". Just give him a chance. Just beat the first man. That's that thin line with that quality. Fine line.
Brathwaite. Now, Christensen finding a little bit of space as the Aussies had committed themselves. That poor ball in cost them. Christensen, and again, they're not on the same wavelength.
And that's frustration, now kicking in. You can see they're starting to ask questions with each other. But Australia have managed the game well. They've not been spread out too thin. They've not been on the counter-attack. They've got people back.
So that's your live table as things stand. France, who've made 9 changes to their lineup against Tunisia today. We thought they might make a few, and there's no Mbappe today. That'll give Tunisia encouragement. Australia, as things stand, would be going through with the world champions, and the European Championship semi-finalists, Denmark, would be heading home. And they will not be looking forward to the reception. Although, bearing in mind where the season is, they might just be heading straight back to their clubs. It just hasn't happened for them so far, Denmark. Can all change, of course. Kasper Hjulmand saying, well, I can't just sign Erling Haaland to come in and score me goals. I have to work with what I've got. As does Graham Arnold. So far, so good for them. Boy, here's a good early ball to Goodwin. Now here's Duke. Goodwin stayed in the centre. How about the... Oh.
They got caught in two minds. You said exactly the thing. What about the cross, or and they end up having a shot? That's the decisions that they've got to do better, because it happened on this... McGee, when he got on this left-hand side, he chose to hit the near post. You know, it's just... That's where you need to have that composure. It's hard to say, because what's at stake to get out of the group? You're playing against a team that's supposed to be much better in quality. They haven't shown too much of that in the last 5 or 6 minutes, Denmark.
It's given away by the centre half over the far side, and that could open up here nicely for Denmark. Eriksson looking for support.
Stay on your feet, don't foul.
Lindstrom. And Lindstrom again over the head of Leckie, and the early ball in. Well, he went for the outside of the right boot.
He knows it's just, that's a moment. You've got to really bend it into the run, but that little give and go. Every time they've had success, Denmark, it's the little give and go in behind, and that breaks round, and he should be whipping that more with an angle, with a bit more of a curve to away from the goalkeeper onto his partner.
Well, left foot would have helped.
He's predominantly right-footed, but you're right, he should be able to, with his left foot, guide it in, and sometimes that's when you have a right foot on the left and left on the right, and they do get into them areas. They're using their weaker foot to put it into them channels, into them moments where you can put the ball in the back of the net.
Remember your good mate Stuart Pearce, in his Nottingham Forest and England days. He'd do anything not to use his right foot, wouldn't he? But he could do it at the outside of his left boot, no problem at all. Even from impossible angles. Skov Olsen almost in there, but well defended by Australia. Højbjerg, Eriksson. Leckie battling away, upended by Eriksson. Well, the longer it stays goalless, the better for Australia. They will be absolutely delighted with a clean sheet going into the break.
And get used to this. They're going to take their time with a set piece. Leckie there using his experience, getting hold of the ball, getting a foul, and they're starting to realise that the impossible may be possible. I think everybody, when you see Denmark and France, and they're going for it, there's a banker. Don't worry about it. That's what we love about this game. It can change.
That's also what we love about this game. Supporters have been fantastic here. Large contingent, both from Denmark and from Australia. Well, it's a good 15, 16-hour flight from here. I think in our minds we thought it was perhaps a little bit closer, but still a bit of a hop.
It was great to see the US fans celebrating. It was nerve-wracking. I was in the studio with a few Hall of Famers, and they wasn't comfortable that last 20, 25 minutes.
No, right till the last kick. Kept it interesting. Degenek thought about the early ball in. He's given it away. Could be costly, because when they do go forward, Australia, they do commit men forwards. Denmark know that, though. They have the know-how to be able to make them count. Moy, not like him, to give the ball away. Over the top by McGree, looking for Duke.
And that's what they do. It comes in, they flick it on, they help it on, they don't get caught on the ball. He's got a few things to think about, you know. He needs a little bit more urgency about their play, where they started the first 20 minutes, then it didn't happen. And that's where they're trying to find their way, and he might have to have a team talk to Whether it's wide players get involved, do you take maybe a midfield player and go with 2 strikers? Does your system start to change?
It's Leckie for Australia. Good battling, but Schmeichel with a punch out towards Leckie. And Lindstrom. Just be 2 minutes added on at the end of this half. It's the fewest we've seen so far. Oh, and how Denmark would just love to nick a goal before the break. Forwards from Højbjerg. Dropped by Mæhle. Eriksson swatted forwards. Fabulous quality from him to Skov Olsen. Good battling play. And the free kick one.
Well, they're asking for a card. They think it's a tackle from behind. Olsen frustrated. It's a delightful ball by Eriksson because the weight of the pass, the level of the pass, and then he gives the ball away, and just that frustration coming round, and I think he's got every right why there wasn't a yellow card.
Behic was booked earlier on for a similar kind of challenge.
I think that's what they was asking, you know. Referee's a bit more consistent. Not everybody wants yellow cards, but he's let 1 or 2 fouls go. We think, hold on a minute, that's 10 minutes ago.
And another 45 like this for Graham Arnold would do just perfectly from their perspective, as long as...
Love to hear his press conference, wouldn't you?
His team talk.
His team talk,
yeah,
his press conference. You might have to bleep a few things out, but he definitely telling his players and encourage them.
Here's Duke for Australia. How about the ball in from Goodwin away by Christensen.
Well, you know he's going to put a good ball in. He showed you in this tournament. I really like this kid on that left-hand side, Goodwin, because he's got that knack of, with a left foot, not necessarily going past people, but just puts it in with pace. He doesn't hesitate, he doesn't drift too much on the ball or dwell too much on the ball. He gets it out of his feet and puts it into an area.
Moy. Oh, it's very promising for Australia for a moment. And it's been a first half of frustration for Denmark, who have to win this game, otherwise they're going home. They haven't created a great deal of note. Brathwaite in the side tonight. Eriksson at the centre of everything they do. They have another 45 minutes in which to find the goal they need, or it's all over for them. Half-time, Australia 0, Denmark 0. 9 changes from their previous game. Something that will have given Tunisia a lot of hope. Oh, that's a mistake in the opening stages.
And listen to the roar as well. Number 14 for Australia. Here come on his left-hand side, McGee, just to give him a little bit of balance. He's more defensive-minded than Goodwin. Goodwin likes to get forward, so there's a little bit of a tactical tweak. And as for Denmark, their fullback, we said about the Benfica player, he loves to get forward. He will get forward. He will express himself. As you touched on, Jackie, a very elegant player. But this is an area Australia feel like they've got height advantage, particularly when you've got someone who's 6'5".
And they're roared on by plenty of Aussies behind the flag. And there's a chance from distance for Aziz Behich, and he's frustrated with himself. He was trying to arrow that into the top corner. Just look at the Aussies in a moment when you get a chance. There they are, behind that corner flag. Aaron Moy is about to take his second corner in quick succession. And if the Aussies can get an early goal in the start of the second half, and panic stations will set in for Denmark. Moy with a corner for Australia. Away by Anderson. I think this is going to be a feature of the second half, with the Aussies in no rush whatsoever, and they know that that's going to frustrate Denmark, and that perhaps will draw a few more yellow cards and more frustration, and they'll be quite happy for that to build. Lecky with a flick. Eriksson just so important to this Denmark side at the best of times, but while they're really struggling up front, they are relying on him so much. Scott Olsen calling for it on this side as Eriksson runs into traffic. One thing the Aussies didn't do brilliantly was the final ball in the first half. Jackson Irvine. Oh, and he got it back as well. Riley McGree with the early ball into him. It was a nice idea. Yeah, again on this left-hand side, McGee's putting that. It wasn't the best of balls, but he's has to try and emphasise as it comes back into him. He's trying to scoop that into the far corner. But again, a positive sign. They win the ball. They're going forward. They're not trying to go back. They're not trying to slow the game down. And that's for Denmark at the moment. They need a spark, and maybe it's that tweak the fullbacks coming on by as a more adventurous player, but they need a lift. They need to get Eriksson on the ball. You need Holberg to get them on. Jensen, how they started the first half, get it into your striker, runners in behind. They've not been able to do that from the end of the first half and now into this half so far. Here's Duke, goal scorer against Tunisia, celebrating, making a little sign to his little boy Jackson, who did it right back at him. It was such a cute thing to see. He couldn't see him at the time, but he's very grateful to the camera operator for picking out his little man. Yeah, that's the mum in there. Oh, do you know what? I had a tear in my eye. I'm such a soppy git at the best of times. Do they say that in America? They do now. They do now. It's going to be trending. You're fine. Oh, soppy sausage. There we go. But yes, he plays his football in the second tier in Japan. There's Mitchell Duke. Much maligned in some quarters by Australian supporters who think he's one of the favourites of Graham Arnold, but he doesn't care a jot. He sticks to his guns. Here he is again, Duke, with a flick on, and he proved his worth in that game with a glancing header. Very tricky for him with his family being based in the UK and not seeing them for the best part of 2 years. Two little kiddies. And there are so many stories with these players, and as you delve into it, I start off looking at stats and I go down a little rabbit hole of players' individual stories at these World Cups. Is that what you do for 5 hours a day in your room? A bit more than that, Fruit. 3 days I didn't see you. I thought I'd done something wrong. On YouTube, looking at their videos from when they first became professional. Here's Moy, the pasty Pirlo, as they used to call him in Huddersfield. He's a good player.
is exactly what this team is. He's steady, does his job, knows his limitation, plays to his strengths. There's another one.
Well, he's easily man of the match, wasn't he, in the last game? 6'6".
A year ago he had a bad knee injury, come back, focused, dedicated to do it, gets in the game, all the ups and downs, it's worth it now. He's playing in the World Cup. I mean, what a story that is.
His ACL, playing for Australia against Saudi Arabia last November, didn't play for an entire year, came back and played 90 minutes for Stoke City in the Championship against Luton Town, and here he is, starting 3 games in a week for Australia, and absolutely flying as well. A lot of talk about interest in him from Stoke City in January. Possibly would have already been in the Premier League had he not done his ACL. Here come Denmark. The ball's on there for Mæhle. Here is Mæhle. And the reverse pass looking for Lindstrøm. Quite accurate enough.
Well, at least they're probing. At least they're taking chances now. Before it was all safe. They went back to how they played against Tunisia, which was keeping it in front of everybody. It was easy to play against. But now, if you get it wide, they're looking to play that combination play again, the little give and go.
Here's the substitute bar with his first taste of World Cup football. A little flick and turn from Skov Olsen. Højbjerg.
And now you're pulling them around. Now you're moving their back line. Now you're moving your midfield. And you might get the opportunity to get the ball into the penalty area.
Jensen, good ball into Skov Olsen. Oh, and that's a painful one. A really painful one for the defender to have to deal with. And it's Jensen again. Away by Berhic. Put clear by Duke. Can Australia hold on to the ball? That's the question. Well, that was really good defending by Kai Rolls, but ouch. I can only imagine how painful that was.
But they work it very well, Denmark, and he just takes it. Defenders now have to have your hands behind the back, because if you have your hands out, it might give a penalty away. Rolls just, he doesn't know, he just blocks himself in. You tense yourself up. The pain of the ball going in the back of the net is more than what it hits him, but that just, again, sums up what they're about. Throwing themselves in front of the ball. Being honest, committed.
Kai Rolls, one of the Scottish-based contingent. Plays his football at Hearts. Berhic, left back, playing at Dundee United. And Moy at Celtic. Without Martin Doyle, a really key player for them, Scottish-born player. So key for them in qualifying, doing his ACL. It was an injury that was already lying in wait, and he just wasn't expecting that to be confirmed out for the tournament, but he's the vibe manager, staying in camp to keep everybody on the song. And here come Denmark now. They need a goal. They desperately need a goal, but Jackson Irvine there scooped the ball clear.
Now they're starting to ask questions. Denmark now, you've got Eriksson further up the field, switching the play a lot quicker, moving the ball a lot quicker. That's what they was doing in the opening moments of the first half, and that's where they created 1 or 2 chances. What Australia got to do is keep together, don't get pinned back.
Denmark coach Kasper Hjulmand's just called over one of the substitutes and is giving him some instructions, so it looks as though he's going to make another change, having already brought on Barr as a straight right-back replacement for Rasmus Christensen. Creating chances and scoring goals is what it's all about for Denmark. A reminder that Australia will go through if they win. Australia will go through if they draw. And France either win or draw, as they're currently doing, 0-0, despite those 9 changes. Denmark and Tunisia would be going out.
It looks like Dolberg just at the bottom, he's going to come on. Now, whether that's a like for like as a striker, or whether just to go 2 up. If it was me, I'd go with 2 strikers now. You've got nothing to lose.
We've seen what Brathwaite can do in terms of linking play, but he hasn't had too many players to link alongside him. There's Irvine. Has McGree down his left-hand side, but it's snatched away from him by Barr. Now there's a bit of space for Denmark. Jensen, Lindström towards Brathwaite, couldn't get hold of it. Oh, lucky just for a moment. Oh, it's a lovely idea to try and get past the Barcelona centre-half. There's Damsgaard and Dolberg prepared to come on.
The offensive players, as you would expect. Because what's happening at the moment for Australia's backline, they've got set and they're quite happy with the personnel that's in front of them. Maybe with these two players, different movement, different ideas. Dolberg's more of a target man. He wants the ball to feet. His movement wasn't good though against Tunisia. Maybe a little bit of fitness now he's worked on. He's a talented player.
Denmark. It's a lovely long raking pass in towards Lindström if he can keep it in play. Oh, he does really well. Does he pull back? And there's a yellow card for Degenek.
The technique and the strength and the ability to go around him. He's got caught out. It's both now. Both fullbacks have picked up yellow cards. So again, the wide players, they can get on the ball. One-on-one situations. You're a mistime tackle away from going down to 10 men.
So a double substitution to be made. Will it be made now? The attacking free kick. Cause a little bit of disruption in the Aussie defence.
I think they want it, but if it's Australia, they're quite happy with the personnel who's in front of them. But
Human's not very happy.
No, he's not happy at all.
He wants his players on. A good idea in terms of shaking things up while you're about to take a free kick. An attacking one. Whipped in. There's nobody out the far post, though. It would have been great if there was a big centre-half there, for example. And now the double substitution will be made. And it's Kasper Dolberg to come on, along with Mikkel Damsgaard. Dolberg, a centre-forward, who scored only one league goal in open play in 14 months. That's 2 penalties. And Tunisia have shaken up this group. They have scored against the world champions, France. Well, that makes life interesting. And that's the as it stands table. That means it would be Tunisia going through instead of Australia, who had been second in the as it stands table just a few moments ago. Now, a lot of you might be expecting France to equalise, but that wasn't the case. But realistically, it's a big difference to know whether you're playing for a draw and a clean sheet or whether you have to win. So no doubt he will be getting that message. Clear, though, for Denmark. Doesn't change anything for them. They have to win. They have to win. And Barr being stopped in his tracks. Good defending by Verhitch. Barr for Denmark. This is better. Højbjerg in towards Dolberg. Oh, good play by Australia. Duke finds McGree. Now it's Leckie. It's Leckie. Still Leckie! Australia have done it again! They've never won 2 group games at a World Cup.
But it's great they're defending on their own 18-yard box, a little give and go. He's keeping himself onside as the ball's played. He's clearly in his own half, which means he's onside. Now has he got the composure? Has he got the ability? Oh, yes, he has. As good as Michael is, he puts that into the far corner. Gets him set up now against the defender. Shifts it in, come back, and he takes it early. That's where Schmeichel can't get set. What a finish. What a counter-attack, and at its best. Clinical. Oh, game on.
Denmark came here knowing they had to win. They were pushing for it. Australia thought perhaps they just needed to draw, but then Tunisia scored, and that meant Australia had to win. And now Australia are winning. And that is what it means to the travelling supporters. What a moment for Matthew Leckie and for Australia.
And devastating for Denmark. They had good possession. It goes into Dolberg. You think he's going to give it to Højbjerg. He miscontrols it. 6 seconds later, it's in the back of their net.
Now this game has come to life.
Well, the gloves are off now.
Well, whether Australia knew that Tunisia had scored, knowing that they then had to win, we'll find out later on.
But for Australia now, just for the next 5 minutes, be composed. You're always vulnerable when you score. The celebration, the subs are there, the coach was running with them, the fans are celebrating as well, but you just need to be focused. Because you know it's coming. This red wave of attack after attack after attack should be coming. They're rocked, Denmark. They haven't passed the ball well, they haven't started this half too good. What a moment for him and them. But once he shifts it and takes it earlier, as a goalkeeper, he's leaning to his right. He can't get across. Hasn't got enough power to get across, as good as Kasper Schmeichel is.
Well, this is extraordinary. We witnessed those scenes against Tunisia when Mitchell Duke scored, and now it's Matthew Leckie.
Switch it.
Jackson Irvine. Oh, into Leckie again. It was a tricky one to bring under control, but he appreciated the thought.
And Leckie did great for the goal because he kept in his own half. Because the tendency as a player when you're playing on the counter-attack is to go too early and you run offside. But he just waited. He's a penny for your fault, my friend, because you've just made some subs.
Damsgaard thread it through to Lindstrom. Well, they have the ability in this Denmark side. They have top-flight players throughout their 11 and on their bench. They're just not in form all at the same time, pretty much, and that's a real problem for the European Championship semi-finalists. They came so close to the final last summer against the hosts England, going down only to a slightly dubious penalty.
That was a definite penalty, no doubt about it.
Says the former England defender.
Yes, exactly.
Warren Barton.
I enjoyed the game yesterday. Rashford, oh, he's starting to get some form now.
Well, he'd been off form, hadn't he? But his manager stuck with him. A lot of stick for Gareth Southgate, but he is a tournament manager. He was a tournament player as well. This is a very different situation compared to qualifiers and friendlies and all the rest of it. Now here's Damsgaard. Early ball, that's better. Good idea for Skov Olsen. Good defending, though, by Kai Rolls. Well, the urgency was always there for Denmark. The difference being now, well, they have to come from a goal down. They have to score twice or they're going home. End of story. Pretty simple equation. Doesn't matter what happens elsewhere for them. That's the minimum requirement, is 2 unanswered goals. Oh, what a game we have on our hands now. Two sides who relish being the underdogs. But today it's Australia. Very much the underdogs in terms of the talent they have at their disposal against a side who had really proved their worth at the top level before. Came into this tournament, Kasper Kjellman there saying, we believe. Talking about really hitting the latter stages. That was never an option really for Graham Arnold. He just wanted to compete, be the best that they could be, give everyone a tough game and see what happens.
Well, as soon as we got here, we went to the training ground in Denmark, and all the press and the players was very, very confident. Even though the form hadn't been great coming into the tournament with some of the players, they felt with the experience, with the players they have, with the coach they've got, the group they was in. And that's what this game can do to you if you don't focus and start the game well.
Well, the Australia bench up on their feet, applauding everything. Tim Cahill there, absolute legend for Australia, now living in Qatar. And running the Spire Academy, where they're staying. He managed to get them in there. It's who you know, not what you know. By the time Australia qualified, they had a very, very good setup, where they have absolutely everything they possibly need in terms of sports science, fitness equipment, baristas. I love their coffee, these Aussies. I might have to move there. I love a flat
You've got
white.
another gadget with coffee, haven't you? Not only now. Where did you get that from?
Supermarket.
You and your gadgets.
And they make life easier. Here's Duke, one of their goal scorers. Behic. Oh, good play by Aziz Behic. Oh, this is wonderful. This is really, really special. But he was completely on his own, dancing through the Denmark defence. He'd have enjoyed that, despite the fact it came to nothing in the end.
Well, it's wonderful play. Getting that little bit of composure. The red shirts don't want to tackle. In the end, it goes off for a goal kick. He looks like a Brazilian. He's got the colour shirt on. He looks like one of them Brazilians going inside, outside. Fullbacks that push on, express themselves.
It's Brazilian-style play, but he's of Turkish Cypriot origin. Now playing at Dundee United after almost a decade in Turkey. A lot of these players have been around the block. There's a real problem with the current A-League, according to the people we spoke to, just not being quality breeding ground that they really need. So they need more players playing in Europe, really, to be able to compete for the Socceroos, as they call them, the men's team. And telling us how the Matildas, the female Australia international team, are rather more popular. Well, Scott Olsen was the early strike. It was a nice idea, and it came off Suter.
Yeah, intelligent little play again on this right-hand side, little give and go. He's just trying to curl it with that left foot into the area. But that's when they've looked really dangerous. But it's not too many times. When they get the ball wide, play it into someone, and you've got runners going in. As a defender, you get dragged away. Just maybe a set piece might be something that they call for as well.
A lot of bodies in the box. Lewis Anderson, centre-half in the end, and it came to nothing. Whenever you've got a side that really struggles with Robert Skov, with Hoffenheim coming on.
He's just given a piece of paper to Eriksson just to have a look, some tactical information being given to him there, Eriksson.
Andreas Cornelius coming on. He's another striker struggling for form. He's only scored in one of his last 15 games for club and country, and that was in the Cup for Copenhagen against lower league opposition. It's just making life interesting. Schmeichel always had it under control. And a flick from Damsgaard. And he's given away by Bar. And the corner of Danish supporters have been so frustrated.
Well, they've gone with two strikers, Cornelius and Dahlberg down the middle. Eriksson would just drop a little bit deeper, Holberg, and allow the other wide players to link in as and when they need to. And it might just be now that they just keep going long. You're going to bypass the midfield and just go into your two strikers, because it's not worked at the moment.
Say go long, but then Australia have a 6'6" centre-half who just loves that, loves those balls all day long. With Kai Rolls alongside him, he really established himself in the year that Suter was out injured. Into the danger area, but Suter... Oh! Well, the offside flag has gone up. Just for a second, we wondered whether a penalty was being awarded, but the offside flag has gone up, and VAR now are going to be called into question, because if it wasn't offside and if it was a foul, then that will be a penalty.
Eriksson just trying to guide it in.
It looks as though Dolberg was just the wrong side of Harry Souttar. Well, that's heart in mouths moment for Australia. Just waiting to restart play before confirmation. VAR's checking the offside leading up to the incident. And it was offside, so there will be no penalty. And Australian supporters can breathe a sigh of relief. Just as I was saying there about causing a nuisance in the penalty area, decent balls in with forwards making a nuisance of themselves. That's when you can win a penalty, and even if you can't score from open play, it doesn't matter. You just got to find a way. And
it's maybe not the first pass, it's the second ball that comes in. And with Eriksson, it's not just going to be a high punt down the middle. It's going to be putting some quality. If you just say, OK, we're just offside, Dolberg, but at least they're putting it into an area that's going to be very dangerous with them too.
Perhaps when these players are on better form, the intricate passing moves that they've been trying in this game may come off, but at the moment they don't have that level of confidence and accuracy, so perhaps keeping it simple, thinking of how they can hurt the opposition in the most direct fashion might be the way forward.
Yeah, they're not playing fluid football, and they've had 5 players come into this camp where they was injured.
How about this? For a ball in towards Cornelius, a substitute.
He's given a foul as well, but that's going to be the theme now for the next 18, 19 minutes from Denmark is get it wide. Once you have a chance, pull it into a dangerous area. 2 centre forwards can cross over, a little bit of movement, get in front of the defender to try and anticipate where the ball's going to come in.
Another substitution this time for Australia. And it's going to be Bailey Wright of Sunderland to come on. He's had to patiently wait for his opportunity. It's Riley McGree, also of the northeast of Middlesbrough, to make way. A couple of championship players swapping places. And there's a midfielder off and a defender on.
As I expected, I said it in the first half, they've gone to 3 at the back now. Because you're playing against 2 centre forwards, they've gone to a 3, so they've got more numbers rather than going man for man.
See there, Denmark only going out of the World Cup group stage in 2010. Such a good record. They've reached the knockout stages at 4 of the last 5 World Cups. This is their 6th World Cup finals. The best they ever did was reaching the quarter-finals in 1998. And they lost 3-2 to Brazil. Former European champions, of course, in 1992, and they didn't originally qualify, but the former Yugoslavia were kicked out due to troubles in their homeland. Denmark came in and upset the odds and beat Germany in the final. Absolutely incredible it was. It's in the days when they were underdogs. Not anymore. Very much expected. Oh, that's good play. Oh, Bacchus. Oh, fantastic play. And he's pulled back. And he's won his team a free kick and a yellow card.
I mean, it's excellent play because he's trying to play the ball down the side. He wants someone to make a run. He knows he's not got the opportunity, so good little footwork. Invites the tackle in. Little pull of a shirt. Relieves some pressure. I mean, as the tournament started with Saudi Arabia and Argentina, that was a big shot. Now they're starting to come along. But this would be a shot when you think that you've said about the history of Denmark and France. Everybody's favourite.
Moy with the free kick for Australia. A goal to the good. Can they consolidate that? Here's Bailey Wright. Looking for the run of Duke. Bacchus is there. Keeps the ball in play. South African-born player. Did move to Australia when he was very young, though. urgency for Denmark. Desperate times for them. Here's Robert Skov. As things stand, Australia not only going through, which is the most important thing, but they'll be heading for their second clean sheet in a World Cup in a row. And bearing in mind they hadn't kept one since 1974 until the other day. It's a strike. Oh, Dolberg there trying to improvise. It was Bar originally. Just looking at Matty Ryan, he had to make that save early on, diving towards the top corner, but really since then they haven't worked him.
A lot of that is down to the defenders in front of him, the way that they've defended and blocked things out, and particularly the midfield too. You know, they've worked very, very well together, screened their defenders, but when he's been asked, quite comfortable in the end.
Australia ranked 38th in the world, Denmark 10th. No superstars in this Australia side, apart from in the crowd.
I mean, great character as well. It's to play your first game, and you know, France in the end could have got 5 or 6. They ended up winning 4-1, and then to regroup, refocus against Tunisia. That was virtually a home game because there were like 30,000 Tunisian fans to get that result and give yourself a chance, and that's all he's ever wanted with his team, is to give him a chance.
Lecky, the goal scorer, is onside up against Højbjerg. Australia with their tails up. Lovely flick from Jackson Irvine. Here's Behic again, trying to go on a mazy run. Stopped that time by Bart. Højbjerg, now Eriksson bringing it away for Denmark. They need to score 2 goals unanswered as a bare minimum.
And just for the Australian player, don't get carried away. Don't think it's all over. Just there's a long way to go. There's too much quality on the Denmark team to think that this game's over.
Too right, absolutely too right. He's scored, stopped in his tracks though by Degenek. That's what he's brought in the side to do. The Columbus crew, centre half usually, but can play it right back, is playing it right back. Solid as a rock. Every Australia player needs to play his part now. Cannot switch off for a second. Focus, concentration. Up to Denmark to try to find a way through, something they've really struggled to do in this entire tournament. Bar with the ball in. Well, he's had his moments since coming off the bench. That wasn't one of them. No,
he's been lively, but again, no one closing it down, and they're frustrated, the fans, and they're trying to get behind their team. But the Aussies, as I said, they've gone 3 at the back. Wright's come in, the Sunderland player. He's given that reassurance. They're not worried if anything goes in front of them. They can deal with that. It's when they get behind. And that's really where Denmark have struggled with any movement in behind, running defenders away, creating some space. It's just going to be get it wide and cross it. I think they can handle that.
Moy just hitting and hoping, knowing he's got willing runners up front, but that's asking a lot of Matthew Lecky.
But the reason they go in the corners, they don't want to go back to Schmeichel because he's got a wonderful strike and he'll hit it 50, 60, 70 yards. So they try and hit into the corners, and if someone can chase it.
By Behic from Jamie McLaren. That's the play he saw just then. Looking to come on, the Melbourne City forward. Reminder, Netherlands versus the United States on Saturday, 9 AM Eastern, 6 AM Pacific on Fox. You can all sit back and relax and watch everybody else go through the ringer. And currently it's Denmark who is suffering, as Australia are about to make that change.
Duke keeps looking over, and I think he's run himself into the ground, and this will be the same scenario as your number 9. Just close down, don't let the 2 centre-halves have good possession of the ball, run it into the corners, run the clock down.
Hard work, an absolute bare minimum from Australia at the best of times, but particularly now in the last 9 minutes plus stoppage time. Denmark trying to do something they've really struggled to do this entire tournament. Open up the opposition defence. scored against France in the centre-half, Andreas Christensen. Goals are not forthcoming from the forwards. What about here? What about here? Can he get the strike in? Once again, Australia stand firm and Suter standing in the way. There's Rolls who dived in. Lecky. Now the change will be made. And it is Mitchell Duke, the goal-scoring hero against Tunisia, who's run himself into the ground for his nation. And he'll be replaced by Jamie McLaren, the Melbourne City forward, who's going to do exactly the same and try and close down these Denmark defenders. And the fine passers of the ball. Try to not give them a second to do that. Moy hooks the ball clear. This next 8 minutes plus stoppage time. Crucial for Denmark. They're there to avoid humiliation. And that's how it would be in Denmark. You have to score twice here without conceding as a bare minimum. Remember, Australia go through with a win, regardless of what happens elsewhere. Although they could draw as long as France win or draw, but they're not. France trailing to Tunisia. Denmark will only go through if they win and France win or draw. So these are desperate times for Denmark. And what an achievement it would be for the much maligned Arnie, as they call him in Australia. Not popular in all quarters. Some fans think he has his favourites. He plays a certain style which is not very appealing. But my goodness, if they can get out of the group for only the second time in their history, after qualifying so dramatically with a penalty shootout victory against Peru, having played the vast majority of their qualifiers away from home due to COVID. Doha will be their favourite city, having qualified here.
Want to be set up here.
I love it.
I mean, they were saying there was only 3 or 4 journalists that come along. They didn't expect them to beat Peru, who had 45 journalists that come along. They didn't give this team no heart. And then to go into a group with, you can't emphasise, with France, who are arguably one of the favourites, Denmark, who you've seen as one of the dark horses, with a player, Christian Eriksen, where you think he's world-class stage, and is it their time, is it this moment? And it just shows you, anyone out there, commitment, sticking together, being organised.
Michael, and then a flick on. Cornelius looking for Dolberg. As things stand, Denmark are bottom of the table. Ranked 10th in the world, 8th in Europe. European Championship semi-finalists. Bottom of the table and bang out of form at exactly the wrong time. Confirmation of that. Denmark at the bottom. Tunisia leading against France. Much changed France, but still, I mean, they'd be gutted to beat France and go home. And they also drawn with Denmark in the opening game. That'd be tough on them. But Australia, if they were to go through, then that would be an enormous achievement.
France was always going to make changes, so it gave them a chance. Tunisia, they've defended reasonably well with their fans behind them as well. So that was always up in the air when I thought, well, they've got their points, they're going to rest key players.
Johnny Bacchus going for goal, his eyes lit up for just a moment.
He's been excellent.
Him.
He's been excellent since he's come. Exactly what the coach would have said. Give us energy, give us purpose, and run at their back line. Get us a throw-in, get us a corner, get us a chance. Come back when I need to. This coach may not be everybody's cup of tea and idea of what coaching is, but you can tell by his players, they give him everything. He's a good man management. They're starting to believe the impossible is there.
Degenek with the long throw for Australia, away by Højbjerg. Denmark have to score twice without conceding. They also have to hope that France equalise against Tunisia. There's a lot of hoping going on. And that's been the problem in this tournament. They've been hoping without making it happen for themselves.
There might be a lot of time coming on as well. If the Australian players have been running the clock down, that would have been added.
Yep, something they're very conscious of in this tournament. You've been seeing a lot of added time. Want to make sure fans get their money's worth.
It was like yesterday with 9 minutes for the US. That felt like an eternity when the board went up, And they showed good character, as Australia saying, not necessarily their football, but to dig in and get a result.
Moy looking to clear away. He's been fantastic in the Australian midfield. Celtic midfielder. A new lease of life there. He had quite a tough time in lockdown, being based in China. Not where you'd want to be. He did really, really well to help them qualify after not having played much towards Tolbert. Brilliant header away by Harry Suter. Now there's an old-fashioned centre-half, if ever you saw one.
It's a great name as well, isn't it? It's a wonderful name.
Very Scottish name, Suter. Aberdeen centre-half, he's come out again. Bars there, looking towards Cornelius. Well, Denmark really running out of time, but a goal here would make things interesting. In by Cornelius, away by Moy again. Don't want to go out with a whimper. Even if they go out, they need to try and score. Lindstrom in towards Dolberg. Brilliant challenge again by Suter. And it was Barr with a strike off target.
Who'd be a fan, eh? Who'd be a fan? They're very, very patient. They might come to this is another wonderful block, and then maybe just his presence for Barr just takes his eye off the ball and cuts across the ball.
Well, it's coming up to 4 o'clock in the morning in Sydney. Coming up to 1 o'clock in the morning in Perth. And I hope they've stayed up to watch this. This is a special, special time. And there's a goal scorer. Leckie comes off and gets a hug from René Moulenstein, former Manchester United assistant coach. And this was the goal which may well prove to be the winner from Matthew Leckie. Making himself a hero, just as Mitchell Duke did against Tunisia. It's essential for Australia that they keep a clean sheet here and don't concede, with Tunisia leading against the world champions France in towards Damsgaard. It might not be enough for Denmark if they were to equalise, but it would absolutely kill the vibe inside this stadium as neither side would go through as things stand. Barr. Swung in by Anderson. And a huge cheers coming from Australia supporters. That was adjudged to be a foul on Degenek by Damsgaard.
Well, they're frustrated, but he does enough. You do as a defender, you feel a little bit of contact. There's probably nothing there, but you go down. It's about managing the game. It's about understanding the role you're in. You do, though, Jackie. People look at it, you go down. You take on board what's at stake. They've had to battle hard. They've had to get through everything. Adversity. A lot of their games have been away from home. They've been away from their family. They've got to a World Cup in a group that he would have expected to have Denmark and France at the top of it. So you're going to do whatever you can for these last few moments to get over that finishing line. That's part of professional business you're in.
Game management. We talk about it so much. Managing the game, breaking up play, not letting the opposition string a few passes together and get up ahead of steam. A minimum of 6 minutes to be added on at the end of this game. Denmark need to score twice. Australia need to not concede, and they'll be going through. Jamie McLaren on the chase. He has Bacchus with him, but that won't reach him. Intercepted by Christensen. Two subs combining.
I think the coach would have preferred to run it into the corner.
Well, there is that.
He was saying that to Hadji Wright when he got it. Just run it in the corner in the last couple of moments.
Yeah, took the words out of my mouth. I was thinking that. He played up to him and he had a strike, didn't he? You think he'd go for the corner flag, lad. Here's Lindstrom. They have to score twice in stoppage time. They simply have to. Away by Suter. And the strike in towards Eriksson.
Or any person you want it to fall to is him, because he's normally got a silky touch, and even him, it just bounces off of his foot.
Just hasn't been Denmark's tournament. Haven't shown the quality they possess. Australia have shown the fighting spirit and the quality at times that they've needed. It's not all about hard work. That would be doing them a disservice. They've talked about it themselves, about being great in the sum of their parts. And that is what Graham Arnold has done for this Australia side. He's done it his way. He hasn't listened to the outside noise. He doesn't care what former Socceroos have said about him and his tactics. He said, I don't read it, I don't listen to it. Although his wife did a newspaper article with the Telegraph in Australia a couple of days ago saying, stay away from my man, leave him alone. Bar with the ball in. Away by Suter. Huge round of applause every time he makes a clearance. McLaren battling away.
Can't imagine he's on social media either. He's not one of them guys. He just gets on with his job. His team go out and they do their job. Right in the corner. Just play it down the side, not give it straight back to him.
Australia must not concede, and they will go through. Denmark have to score twice in the last 3.5 minutes to at least have any kind of chance. Desperate times. Currently bottom of the table. That was unthinkable just a week or so ago. Now they've won a corner. Skov, the substitute, and it's Eriksson who's gone over to take it, and Kasper Schmeichel, the goalkeeper, has come up from the back because these are desperate times. They call for desperate measures. And the referee having to have a word with some of the Denmark players. Mustafa Gorbal. And Schmeichel's up there, and he caused some havoc in that Australia defence. No. Matty Ryan gratefully grabbing the ball, and he will be in no hurry to release it. The clock is ticking down on Denmark's stay at the World Cup. And they are going out with a whimper. Back in, off Bacchus. In towards the danger area. Booted clear by Moy.
Well done by Ryan as well, because he didn't want to go to ground. If he goes to ground, he might give a penalty away. He just stood there and let it hit him. They're trying to get up the field. The back line from Australia keep getting pinned back. They've got to try and stay up. Denmark are throwing everything at them now.
Suter's there, and they have to clear this. They have to clear it. They left it for each other.
Well, it's panic stations at the moment. Up he comes again. They're trying everything.
Well, a goal here won't be enough for Denmark, but it could send Australia out. Unless he can find 2 goals, that is. Eriksson towards the far post. Cornelius is there. Whoa, that was floating. Just for a second, it looked as though it was going to nestle underneath the crossbar. A relief for Australian defenders and supporters that it just floated onto the roof of the net.
Well, we was behind it, and it looked like he was just trying to loop it into that far corner, but what's going through his mind at the moment? And they're starting to believe, they can feel it, that they're getting closer and closer and closer.
Yes.
You better believe the celebrations after if this goes. One thing the Aussies know how to do is celebrate.
Well, we're seconds away from seeing everyone on the pitch, everyone in the Australia dugout. They are such a together unit. They are clapping their teammates. They are pumping their fists. They know this is about to be the celebration of all celebrations. And the Aussies love a celebration. Bacchus, Moy. And it's all over! Australia have done it! second time in their history. Graham Arnold's side have matched the achievements of the 2006 golden generation, but they have gone one better. They have won back-to-back matches in a group stage of a World Cup for the very first time. Matthew Leckie, the match winner today, after Mitchell Duke had been the match winner against Tunisia. Back-to-back clean sheets for the first time as well. And Australia, greater than the sum of their parts, have worked their way into the knockout stages. And let's cross over to the Education City Stadium. In fact, we're going to stay here. Let's stay here.
Yeah, let's stay with the Aussies.
Australia are through. They know how to celebrate, but they have deserved this, Warren.
Yeah, this togetherness, this spirit, never giving up. I mean, you've got a player there with ACL moments before. They've kept him involved. They've kept the coaches, kept the team together. Everybody's been having their say. What a moment for him. Enjoy it.
Oh, Martin Doyle injuring his ACL just before this. You as my vibe manager.
I want to be in their hotel tonight.
Oh, they are going to party. The Australians are going to party before they even think about their last 16 match. And Graham Arnold's methods have been vindicated. Harry Suter, immense once again, a year out with an ACL injury.
More time, still out and on. Only the referee knows how much is left. Referee Matthew Conger.
And the fans want this to be over. They're whistling and booing. It's getting loud in this stadium.
Now they know that they can win it again. They thought they had it won before. Off Griezmann's touch. Sent back. Mandanda was way out of goal. Not sure why, but he was. Now it's full time. Now Tunisia wins over France. Hazri can remember he got the game-winning goal on his very last touch. Well done, Tunisia. You win the game, but unfortunately your team does not advance, but you gave it a very good effort. So it is Tunisia on a goal by Hazri, winning in their final game of this World Cup, 1-0 over France.